Okay, we are live here. Um, we're live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. Just checking here, and we're also live on Twitter. Yeah. So in case you're just joining us either on LinkedIn or on YouTube or Twitter, please say hi. Let's know where you're joining us from, and yeah, don't forget even before we begin, make sure to share the link with your friends, your folks, your bosses, your employees, employers, everybody. Share the link across. What do you call it? Spam them with the link. Let them all come on board. Let's learn together, right? Yeah, if possible. Yeah, let's learn together. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody joining us today. Welcome to another episode of an Hour with Manager live discussion with your host, Ubong Matthew. Like I say, or like I always say, I'm going to be here for as long as, and we don't know, by the grace of God, the inspiration will keep moving and we'll continue to do amazing things with this. So here today, I have a very wonderful guest with me who is going to be sharing deeper information as per, the curious questions all professionals have been asking either in the workplace, effective for them in the workplace, or maybe in their day-to-day activities, their personal brand, social media, or whatever the case may be. But I know that this is a topic that affects everybody, every professional that we have, be big or small. And in one way or the other, our guest today will help us do justice to that. Mr. Steve, good evening. Welcome to an Hour with Managers discussion today.
Good evening, Matthew.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we are looking forward to making the best out of the next 1 hour or the next 55 minutes.
Super
Okay.
excited to
All
be
right.
here with you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, to everybody who's joining us, like I said, wherever you're joining us from, do all to share the link, spread the word around. However, you can do it. Repost, do something, just do something. Let's have people come on board. Retweet, repost, post on your WhatsApp status, just emphasis on that. Let's learn and discuss together. And also, if you have any questions, any contributions, any suggestions you want to share, please don't forget, either you send them to the comments box or you send them to my DM. It's always open. Don't worry. I'll probably read it anonymous, so that won't be a problem. So wherever you're joining us from, don't forget to send in your questions, your contributions, and your suggestions. I want to do something which is not very, very like an hour with manager, but I need to do this for the purpose of our upcoming big news, which is our magazine launch. Before we even get on board, so first thing is first, and now with manager will be launching its first magazine issue on the 31st of October. So if you're yet to join the wait list for that, please check the link in the comment box and also do justice to that. Let's know we have people anticipating for that. But trust me, it's going to be an issue filled with impacted information as to what people are really saying about AI, with expert insights, wonderful informations from experts all over the world who will be sharing their insights, their experience, and yeah, we'll also get to see some stories from that magazine. So please stay tuned and let's continue to learn and share valuable information together. Okay, so the discussion of today, we're talking about mastering storytelling to enhance presentation. And in our previous discussion with Lalindra last week Thursday, we spoke about work-life balance, right? And the other discussion 2 weeks ago, I think we spoke about networking, right? And navigating your career journey. If you've noticed our conversation over time, it's we coming on board to also assist you as a professional, be it big or small, to also navigate your career journey, see how to help you, see how to also answer those curious questions that you might be pondering on personally, right? Also give you access to inspirations and insights where you can draw from our guests and also learn and optimize whatever you're doing effectively. So today, our guest will give us insights as to how we should balance up, how we should master storytelling from his own personal experience, right? And how we can use that effectively either in the corporate space or in the business landscape, or for our personal development to see how to lead a better professional career or life. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, once again. And to our guest, Mr. Steve, I know to most of our audience who are seeing you today, this might be the first time they're meeting with you. And I just want to share this with everyone. Last week, our guest, or Lalindra, um, only uses Instagram, so that's very amazing, right, for his photography session. So this time around, Steve is not an active person on social media actually, but this is me. Why I'm sharing this is you can also be good and don't necessarily have to be on social media every time. It depends on what you're building. It depends on what you're doing, right? If it requires you to be on social media, that's best for you, wherever the case may be. But still, you can as well use social media to also optimize whatever you're doing, and you can still use it without always being in front of it. But yeah, Mr. Steve, please tell us how you've been doing and how has the past couple of years, professionally and also personally, been like for you? And let our audience meet you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matthew, once again. To start off, I want to take us back a couple of years to 2017 or 18 thereabouts, where I had a session with my HR, human resource business partner, and I really wanted to understand how do I progress in my career. One of the things that he shared then was you need to be more articulate and clear when you're communicating your ideas. Now, this was a little bit as a surprise because I felt at that moment I was quite articulate and I was insightful during my presentations because I would have all the data points mastered. I'll have them all layered out, fancy graphs and all those as per the business processes that we had, and also generally as we have our own outlays or designs for presenting within the business. It's at that moment that you share that it's good you join Toastmasters so that then you can learn a little bit more on how to communicate effectively. And if, from that point, I would say it has been a remarkable journey. First, the usual expressions I used to get whenever I'm presenting my data have all disappeared. I enjoy presenting information to my colleagues rather than presenting data, which is what previously I used to do. Might be a little bit hard for you to discern the difference because sometimes data and information is not the same thing. It is the insight that you get from what you're presenting and you want them to take out. That's the information that I lacked during those sessions.
Okay,
Often, when you're
sorry,
presenting,
please.
and in this case,
Sorry, please. Okay. I believe you're trying to break down the difference between the data and information in your context, right?
yes,
Okay, please go ahead.
most of the times, what we present to our managers is just data, which is being packed into numerous slides. And I'm talking about our business normal meetings. And you'll find that people are really trying to grasp what do you want to tell them. This piece is what now most of us and I in the past used to get wrong. One of the things that you get to learn as you start this journey of mastering your presentation is identify what your audience really wants, plus the type of your audience. Often, if you are presenting to a very busy person, they will probably need 5 minutes for you to get to the point. If the session is for a deep dive situation, you'll probably even take an hour for you to unpack the data. These are two scenarios, and depending on the person that you want to share this information, you will need to customize. So, this goes to show you that when it comes to your journey and when you start looking at your presentation, you will not start or end up having one presentation that fits all scenarios. Rather, you'll have a framework that will help you adjust to the different audience. The first step, as I mentioned, was just knowing your audience. Second step in that element was the situation that you'll be presenting in. If you have a lengthy period, Many slides will work, which has all the information that you need to present. And if you have only a few minutes, you'll have to be brief to the point. As Matthew had shared with me this topic, I remembered a moment I had listened to David J.P. Phillips, who has a YouTube link and a video titled Death by PowerPoint. The first time I listened to that particular YouTube clip, I was impressed and I said, I will go and apply all those techniques. I failed miserably, not because of what he
Why?
shared, but how I interpreted it and applied.
How did
Remember
he interpret?
when you're working, that's a good question, Madhu. So my interpretation was do as he has shared. As he has said, you have to have at minimum six objects. Six objects in this instance will be probably a graph, a sentence being a particular object. You probably have an image. So you can't have more than six. Second was use a black or dark background. The other element was fewer sentences so that people don't read as you talk through the slides. Try to create contrast so that you can focus the eyes and also the audience to your key message. And I think another two or so elements that were in it. So I lifted all that
Okay.
information. I went and tried to apply it.
So I want to ask something quickly. When did this happen exactly?
5 years back.
5 years back, and it still sticks to your memory like very fresh.
Yes, it was fresh because here I've started a journey in Toastmasters. I'm learning how to be articulate, how to communicate effectively. However, I had not started the journey of how to present. How do I use visual aids? How do I present data to the business? Here in Toastmasters, I'm at the base level, at level one, understanding fundamentals. So we started at the same pace. And I came across this particular video and I felt this is it. This will help change my presentations. But I had not yet understood what Toastmasters was telling me to do and what also David J.P. Phillips was trying to put across. The first example statement that I opened up with is know your audience. Why did I start that? If Maddy, for instance, you're a person who is into numbers and we are having a session where I'm presenting a report and I need you to invest, or in this instance, give us your approval so that we can invest money in it. You'll be more inclined to first see the numbers, see whether it is positive, and now unpack what led to that particular conversation. And depending on the time, it could be a summary of whatever I need to present, or to take you logically through how I ended up at this point, and this is the cost. Normally, what do we do? We just come and draw the first slide with all data points without considering. At this point, you forget that Matthew is a person who prefers to start with numbers. In this instance, get the conversation of numbers out because that is what is key for Matthew to give you attention. Once he is on board, he's now listening to you. Now bring up the rest. This now talks about the content that you have. In most of the instances, it is sort of prescribed. You will have a couple of slides with probably the business template that the business will use. And from the past presentations, you will see a generic theme of how they lay out the data. This is because sometimes the presentations that are being done are also being done in a way that somebody can read it later. They will probably want first to understand what is that piece of information that you have not put on that slide. This is your chance. Now, when you're presenting, don't focus on what you're presenting there and read word for word because that's what we used to say. Column one has this figure, column two, and then it changes to this. You are repeating data, it's not information. That data is to support your message. So kick off with the message and say, this is what I'm trying to share with you. The data here is communicating to that. And how is it? You unpack it, point one, two, and three. What I came to learn as I progressed now with the journey in Toastmasters and also from observing the more astute presenters at work is that they used personal stories, trying to make sure that every point had a relatable piece to the actual realm of us who are living. So telling and saying, if I want really to target Matthew here with a product, the question is, who is Matthew? Tell me, what time does he wake up? What does he want to do in the morning? Because creating that image starts to present the setting and the scene of what your data intends to share. Often we will just say, we want to target somebody who's 26 years old or 40 years old, is male and female. Those are just statistics. Bring it to the forefront because once you create a visual entity that you can anchor your message on, that is what the audience will take out and remember when they try to recall your presentation.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for sharing that in depth so far. While you were sharing your experience so far and the whole storytelling idea, I picked something from there because it looks like maybe without this one, this other part might not work. That is communication, right? So how is effective communication very important when maybe in presentation and also sharing your story or rather sharing that story maybe to your corporate bodies, to your bosses or something. How is effective communication very important in that space there?
80% of the time you spend in your business or in any corporate organization is all about communicating. You are communicating information that will be used in a certain way. That just goes to show you how important you need to pay attention and be effective when delivering your information. For example, as I mentioned earlier, knowing the type of person that you are going to share the information with will help you adjust or modify how you deliver it. The simple thing is, I could be one of those people. Before you come and engage me in a lot of conversations, check up on how I've been, how my family has been. This is a very different type of person compared to the one who just wants to hear facts. If you go and get into the meat of the conversation with a person who first wants to have the niceties engaged, the pleasantries first taken care of, you will lose them because this is what they need first to get into that space. But if you now go with too much pleasantries to somebody who's short on time, somebody who just wants to know the facts and what they need to do, again, you lose them. They will feel you're taking too long. This boils down to the first step that I mentioned. Always know your audience so that you adjust how you're going to approach them and what you're going to deliver. Then you'll be effective in how you communicate.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for emphasizing on that. And like our guest just said here, always know your audience, know who you're targeting, know who the story is directed to. We're going to try some examples here on the call. But before I push for that, quickly, I just got a question here. They're saying, how can storytelling help business leaders and entrepreneurs drive growth and success? From your example, how can it effectively help them? How can that process work for them?
Storytelling is already helping a lot of business, and it is visible because you see it in what we call advertisements. Nowadays, a product, when it's presented to you, it is through a story. They are trying to connect with you. Storytelling is one of those elements that is innate in all of us and makes it easy to communicate, even though we don't need to use words. Now, when it comes to businesses, people want to see the impact. You can have all numbers, but they want to see the impact. And the impact is how you make them feel when they are looking at the solution, when you're looking at the presentation. I've seen a lot of times people being straightforward and going and sharing that this is what I need to do, no emotions or trying to create an emotional connection with the audience. It works for the audience that you're already presenting and the ones that are specific to that type of reception. If you go to another different audience, like I mentioned earlier, they might need you to change it a bit. For example, not everyone will understand the way you are looking at the numbers and calculating the percentages and the rest. So, how do you bring this to the forefront? You will use simple examples of saying, in this instance, Matthew and I, if we were to become your customers, this is how we would transform our lives. And in this situation, I'm looking at us maybe probably pitching elements around home items that will help us to be more effective. You will have to create a scenario around Matthew's life in a day and my life in a day so that it can create that image. Once that image has been set, it becomes very easy to now deliver your solution or any other element that you want to sell. In fact, in selling, it is the story itself that makes sure that you connect with the person, you get to understand or demonstrate you understand their problem and how your solution fits with that problem.
Okay, so from what you're sharing right now, if we have to draw a quick case study, maybe let's say our magazine launch right now, right? Um, how can we put our story in such a way that our listeners can also connect with us and also see the value we have in the magazine so that before the launch they're already anticipating and that's excitement of I can't wait to see this, I can't wait to do this, right? Maybe so far they've seen the brand grow and all of that. How can we put what you've shared here with us into practice using our magazine launch as a case study?
That's a very good question, Matthew. I'm looking at this from an angle like you want to launch a product, and at this instance, you'll be talking about how impactful this product will be. But from the start, what you probably will be looking at is trying to create that excitement and creating a scene of there's something coming soon. You will be talking and saying, sharing, we have been working on this magnificent product that will help you whenever you are at home, wherever you are, you can access this content. And you start talking about, we'll have content that meets probably issues about finance, talking about have you been always wanting to know how, in this example, Dangote, who's the richest person in Africa, started off, or what is he planning to do? There could be more on this as we launch with our magazine. Small sections and tidbits that you are laying up, saying that this is how we are going to be able to l- get you this information to you. And in each instance, it is trying to say every single time you remember your first instance taking a magazine and flipping through the pages and taking a biro and jotting down, these are the words of a wise person. It is because of that medium that you were able to pick these words and you could always have it with you. We now we are moving it from being a digital one, or rather a physical one, to a digital one that you can access anytime, carry it with you anytime, and always reference it whenever you need it. This is what we are trying to do and present to you. Unpacking with similar stories, remembering how magazines have been in the past, how did they influence you as you grew, and now how they will continue in the new digital age, and how people can be able to monetize it or use it effectively. All these mini stories can be used as you launch your magazine and make people more aware of it.
Thank you very much. I think my team members are actually hearing this, and this is something we'll have to look into. The conversation about storytelling is it's I don't know if I would say it's at a peak because these days brands are really trying to connect with people most importantly compared to then where it has to be anything you see, just go with it, right? But now you have to think of how to connect with your listeners or your audience or your customers emotionally with empathy, right? And also understand and see things through their own space. Even at work, you also need to find the best way to share information, share presentations with your team members or with your stakeholders and all of that. So yeah, but before we even push forward into having more questions, receiving more questions, and engaging on this conversation, I just want to draw a little bit of this back to you, right? Before Toastmasters, before Safaricom and all of that, and I know you have your family and all of that. So how has professional life been before then for you, and how did you navigate yourself to to get to where you are? For the past couple of years, you've been doing what you've been before then. What have you been doing before Toastmaster, before the company, before all of this? Yeah,
Yeah. Well, before I was quite economical with the words I used. Whenever I wanted to engage, I'll be brief to the point and will always expect you to do the work of trying to understand what I've shared with you. I felt the onus lied on the audience more than me for them to interpret what I was sharing, which is the reverse. That whenever you are communicating, the onus is on you to make sure the other person understands you. And that means, even as we are talking about storytelling, because we've just touched this is a bit of it, there is another angle which we talk about structure. And I'm pretty sure as you grew up, Matthew, and you read a lot of novels and you even started reading biographies, you will notice that there is always a type of structure, how the content is laid out that makes it more
yeah,
effective. The minute you pick a book and it doesn't follow the natural structure, you get confused.
yeah. I'm bored
So,
actually.
exactly. Because it's taking
Yeah,
effort.
the tone of the tone of the book or something.
Exactly, exactly. So this is also another key point whenever it comes to storytelling. It is how you structure your content. Even when we are speaking, you can have a way you will always make sure that people are captivated. Now, traditionally, and I would say mostly from the early childhood and the novels that I read or stories, there's always that hero type or where we are overcoming an adversity or a
Yeah,
monster, or you're going on a hero's journey. Uh, it
yeah.
feels nice. You want to be
I think that still happens. That still happens. We still get to see some of those
exactly,
stories.
exactly, exactly. And these basic structures are what we use in storytelling, even when we are talking to each other as a business person and even on normal engagements. Because I'm pretty sure you must have one of those friends who usually starts at the end and then starts unpacking. The one who will tell you, "Do you know?" And then you ask him, "Know what?" Then he tells you, "Don't know." He's luring you in. Those are storytelling techniques that we use
Yeah.
day to day. And I feel if we just know that that is a technique and you are conscious about it, then you know when you need to use it and who to use it with. Most of this information is online. The that piece. which now comes and tries to make sure all these things fit, is practicing. You can read about it, you can listen to it as many times as you want, but if you don't practice, you'll not be able to get better. And again, talking about how I was before Toastmasters and after is because I read a lot. Growing up, I started reading books around presentations, how to be effective in communications, but there was no platform to practice. There is that famous saying that Michael Jackson used to draw 300 shots, and not all of them will go through, but at least he will keep increasing his accuracy.
Yeah,
And that's what
yeah.
happens in Toastmasters, a platform that gives you an opportunity to practice in a safe space.
Thank you for sharing that. And how how has Toastmaster personally? Because I know you shared a lot of experience, right? So if I had to maybe find my way to come on board to Toastmasters, right? How will it impact my personal career and maybe my professional life, or maybe as a business person? Do I still have to also find myself there to to make the best out of Toastmaster itself? Or maybe just share some light about Toastmasters again, please.
So, Toastmasters is a non-profit organization that brings a lot of people together. And what we basically do is give each other feedback. In this session, somebody probably will be listening to me and afterwards tell me, I really loved how you presented these points, and I would see an opportunity in what you do next time by enhancing this and this and that. That feedback is crucial because it helps me know what are my strengths and what are my areas of opportunity. As a business person, you're always pitching every single day to different types of audience. Every club that you'll ever go for Toastmasters will have different types of people. It gives you an opportunity to try out your different communication styles. Last month, we were discussing with one of my colleagues, and I told him, I'm looking forward to when I will be a corporate master of ceremony, where I'll be paid to be a master of ceremony by a corporate as a different kind of hobby plus also business venture. Because I love engaging with people, even now with events. This is a whole transformation from my earlier, say, myself, because naturally I'm an introvert. But due to the engagements I've had in Toastmasters, I've gotten confidence. I've now even started loving being at the stage or being at the center of a conversation,
Everything. Yeah.
and not necessarily owning the conversation, but also getting an opportunity to interact with people, get to network. These are all the benefits I've gotten so far in Toastmasters that hardly would I have been able to do them if I just kept reading them in books or merely just listening in the different audio books that you can get, Blinkist, YouTube, or whichever one that you could be having.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm sure from what you're sharing, Toastmaster is doing an amazing thing. And also, from yourself, that is a work. What do you call it? Proof of work. Yeah, that's proof of work. Yeah. So, thank you for also sharing that experience. And we also look forward to see how to to integrate Toastmaster into all that we're doing, and probably learn to be like you, right? We have listeners and audience who are in professional space and also want to learn the kind of stuff you're doing. Yeah. But from what you shared about your experience and everything you've been able to gather so far, I just want to throw in something a little bit that when when presenting a story in corporate, right? When presenting a story in corporate, for example, I'm a manager, right? I want to speak with a stakeholder. I want to make a presentation rather. I want to share a presentation, and I don't want to make it too serious, like what you've shared, right? So from your time, from your experience time, and all of that, how do you structure it? Just to draw back to your conversation on structuring, how do you structure your presentation and then make it visible enough to the audience, which is a stakeholder, for them to be able to feel the information, and you two who is communicating that information to also get their buy-in and also get the best output or the best result from it.
That's a very good question, Matthew. From my experience, I favor a problem solution approach. I start with the problem, paint a very clear picture. This is a problem, and this is how it has come to be. Then, from that point, I introduce the solution. This is how we are going to tackle it, and this is the opportunity that we are going to get from tackling it. Once I use that structure, 90% of the time, people will always agree with me or remember the actual problem and the solution. It could be that there is more work required to define the solution or to refine the problem elements, but at least it is very clear. Remember, in every business, your core work is to resolve a problem for your customer. So defining that problem in a way that it is easily understood is your biggest challenge. The bar graphs and the rest will only indicate numbers, but the pieces behind those numbers are what you are going to verbalize and be able to demonstrate your understanding of how those numbers are coming up. When you're presenting using the problem solution structure, it is key that you focus also the audience to what you want them to look at and what to get out. Now, in your business or probably in your corporate, there's a way your existing leadership or even your manager or you as a manager request to get information. This does not really need to change. There is a third component, which is, or rather, sorry, the fourth component, which is the delivery. The delivery in itself is what now changes. Matthew, I can send you a book, you read it. Then there is an opportunity for you to listen to an audiobook of the same book. And those two experiences are very different.
I agree with that. I actually prefer audiobooks to reading. At least I kind of enjoy audiobooks. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. When you send your presentation, there is little to indicate the energy and the passion that you have put into that particular presentation. But when you're presenting it, this is your chance. Use your body, use your voice, use your hands. I'm using it to show the energy that I'm passionate about what I'm talking about and highlight what is very key. Take this moment when you're presenting it, and this is a delivery point, to now hammer in your message. Often we deliver by reading the words. Don't read the words. Those ones, if you had shared the presentation earlier or as a pre-read, what you are supposed to be doing is unpacking it. And here is the chance to try and create analogies. What happened? Can you create a scenario where we can picture that? That connects because at the end of the day, in every business, you're making a lot of decisions. Every single day, as you get out of your bed and you're going to work, you are getting a lot of information and you're probably trying to figure out what decision you need to make. You also are getting a lot of distractions. Hence, getting your story right, structuring it right, and delivering it right will be memorable for the person. and they'll always remember it. You might be surprised. You can hear the same example being quoted somewhere else, and it sounds like it was originally by that person, though it is you who presented it.
You know, in line with making decisions, right? We just got a very interesting question that key into that. Talking about leaders, right? Saying how can storytelling help leaders build stronger teams and improve collaboration?
I think that's a very nice question because I'm still practicing on ensuring that we can do that with storytelling. I will say this: as a leader and having your team, you need to create a narrative around the team and what happens. Most of the times, you will go through ups and downs. And it is always good to ensure that whenever you're having conversations with your team, to try and motivate them. Stories of how you as a team overcame a certain problem. And it does not necessarily need to be the team that you have, but also you part of another team can try to bring them together and also help them understand it is possible. Through storytelling, and this is just the stories that you as a leader will be sharing with them, you can help them also get better in how they present, how they communicate with their colleagues. This will make them also effective in how they execute their roles. By you helping them get better in storytelling, their productivity will also improve. The team's output improves also. People, as I have also experienced, become proud of showing what we do in a day, showcasing. This time round, if I was to be asked tomorrow by my children, Dad, what were you doing? I would be saying, I had a fabulous session with a friend called Matthew, living in a different time zone. And we spoke about stories. You know, the stories that you like? We spoke about different stories. And we shared information that I felt somebody else also got something out of it. I was proud. I did something good for the day. If we are able to translate what we do day to day at work into stories that we can share with somebody else, it also improves our energy. It helps us want to do more and also gives us purpose for the following day as we continue. We always are shared, or we look at being gracious in terms of what we have received. And one way to be gracious about the opportunity you have in life is tell your story about that day. Tell a story about yourself, and you will see how each day will turn out to be marvelous.
So, will you say storytelling is a continuous learning process or is a continuous process?
Yes, storytelling is a continuous process. There are so many approaches into how you can create a narrative or a story that will have its core impact delivered. Every single audience or different types of audience will have different frameworks that can be leveraged. If we go to YouTube, we'll see almost 100,000 or so different types. I learn every single day. I learn a technique from listening to one, reading one, and I go and practice. I get feedback from my colleagues in Toastmasters, and then I practice. I naturally love talking about stories because it is how I'll register this information. The story makes me feel good. Since I feel good, I'll remember it. And whenever I want to remember it, I just need to remember how I felt during that moment.
Yeah, yeah. I think I get to hear a lot of that. Always connect to your moments to connect it to yourself so that you always have that memories being stuck to your mind. Thank you for sharing that. Quickly, I just want to say to everyone who's listening to this, I see people from Twitter, that's X, YouTube also, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much for streaming. Thank you very much for tuning in. Because we're not doing this just for Ubong Matthew. I told you guys, or I always tell you guys that this is beyond just me. Yeah, we started it personally, but we've also brought this publicly and making it global for everybody to also benefit from. Whether you're African, a European, you're from America or wherever you are, whether you're an Asian, wherever you are in the world, this is also for you because we are one. We also have this problem in one way or the other, and our guests are always here to always do justice to that. So thank you very much for always staying tuned and to share and engage in conversations like this. So, like I always say, if you have any questions, any comments or contributions, please don't forget to drop in the comments or you can send them to my DM. I will respond to them as soon as possible. Trust me, like I'm reading out other questions here, I will continue to read out yours. Your last explanation here, you talked about, sharing your personal experience. And I just want to share something that I think starting from Monday or so, I kind of carried on a routine, right? Because we carried on a 6 weeks process with the brand, and that's an outreach manager. And I said, okay, what's going to be the best way for me to let people know about what we've done so far, right? Yes, we've done something amazing because in the past, I knew that working with teams, most especially when you're working remotely, is a different ballgame entirely. I know you're familiar with this, right? Compared to when you're seeing this person physically, you can work faster, but remotely, it's a different ballgame. And as a team, as a 5-man team, we've been able to, carry on a simple process and successfully carried it on to the end. And I was like, okay, what's going to be the best way? Not something everybody do. I decided to start sharing my own experience and how it has worked for me, every day, once, at least one letter every day, which I say anybody who also wants to leverage on that, you can as well follow up on that. But now I just want to ask the question, that in what ways, right, for the benefit of our listeners, in what ways can, sharing your personal stories help professionals, right, grow and stay at the top of all they're doing, maybe as a finance expert, as an insurance expert, as a customer experience expert or HR personnel? How can you keep on telling your personal stories to help you stay competitive? Because today, yes, AI is there, but personally, we have to connect to people very, very well, effectively to be able to have buy-ins to all that we're doing. Yeah. So yeah, how is that possible?
Thank you so much, Madi, for that question because now you have tied to your initial statement where you shared that I don't have any active online social media engagements or handles. This is something that I'm still working towards, though I've analyzed and seen, especially for my close friends. One thing about sharing your day, especially if you are professional, I've noticed a lot of them will probably share, I went for this conference, I met this, and this was the objective. Now, how does that help them as a professional person? You get to connect with more people because the next time an event or a conference is being shared or being organized, they'll look out for you based on the softwares that we use and programs. It will be easy to get people who have posted around certain topics. And if you are a person who's passionate around it, somehow you will be picked or you'll be connected, and this continues. The other piece is that you also start getting comfortable. This is a stage that I'm working on personally. Getting comfortable, like you, Matthew, to be
Yeah,
active
I'm
social
trying.
media.
I'm trying my best.
So it's a step. It's a step, and I'm not saying that even if you don't do it, it's bad. No, because
Yeah,
it
of
is a step.
course.
Keep doing it. Those who have done it are already enjoying the benefits. They can already see it, and those of us who have not done it are looking at different ways of how to introduce ourselves, how to do it, and we are going to get there. But it doesn't mean that for our one-to-one interactions, or in this instance, a podcast or a session like this as an interview, that you can do it because this is a fast step. It's a fast step. Tomorrow I'll be sharing with people and saying, if you didn't join me yesterday from my post, this is it. This is the conversations that we had. And subsequently, I get more and more opportunities, and even you'll get more and more opportunities. Wrap up a day by showing what you did. And if you need to put it on social media, do it if you are comfortable. If not, Write it down in your journal. Journaling is also one of the biggest ways that we can always get to improve on ourselves because it's a reflection. You'll be reflecting on how the day has gone or what the decisions you made. So it doesn't need to be that you'll post it, but you'll get a moment to reflect.
Wow, thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to also have you join me on the journey. Actually, that'll be a very wonderful thing, right? Okay, so yeah, so I just want to ask in the whole professional space and probably our whole life as humans and all of that, we get to try to do more things, try to keep up with so many things day to day, try to balance up. And I know when you're just moving personally, maybe like before you get married, like yourself, and you get to have kids, you're moving on a certain kind of direction, right? Or you're very free and easy with how you move, right? But once family come in, it's a different ballgame entirely, right? So I just want to get your own buy-in from what so far. What do you think work-life balance is like for you? Let's just what work-life balance is like for you with all that you're doing and still balancing or being the dad, being there. I know you work from home, but trying to be that dad they need to be, and also try to be the boss when you get
Mm,
to work and
mm.
not have to distract any of these bodies.
That's a very nice question, Matthew, because in the onset, I felt work life balance in my younger years was supposed to be like a seesaw. Work and life itself should balance. But in essence, the longer I've been graced with blessings to see a new day and aging in this life, I've realized the work life balance is an interpretation of what you want to achieve in life. There is a moment you need to really concentrate in upskilling yourself. That is a moment that you need to focus because that is the time you have. Beyond that particular point, maybe the skill that you are trying to focus on may be redundant. Maybe opportunity that you needed could have already passed on. So make sure that you focus on your skills or that particular season with all the energy you have. When it comes to what we talk about, and I'll put it in quotes, life seems to be in different stages. Before marriage, it's all about you and your friends. Or let me say in this instance, it's me and my friends. What do I do? How do I enjoy life? And we are using that YOLO, you only live once. I don't know whether it's
Yeah,
still being used by Gen Z, but we can say. However, as you move from that stage to another one of marriage, you have different decisions, you have different views of life, and you start reviewing and saying, what do I want to do? In all this, remember you are still supposed to be planning for the future. From the moment you become an adult, you are meant to be looking to the future and saying, this is how I want my life to be. So you cannot have life being 80%. You cannot be always out partying or doing adventures. No. You also need moments where you need to have work. This probably will generate revenue that comes to now supporting your life ambitions. It could be the friendships that you are creating, the relationships that you probably will extend towards others that might translate also to come to work. So the balance is defined with the season where you are, and also, to me, as I believe, your goals in life. There are very many people who have sacrificed a lot to focus on their career to get to the C suite. And once they're there, they have said, now I've achieved what was my ambition. They feel they have met their ikigai. Now they look towards something different. It could be just setting up their family or being a family man. That would work.
okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm having a little glitch here. I'm realizing that my internet is taking me in and out. Apologies for that. But please, I am still very here and very active and listening to what our guest is saying. Right. So yeah, to everybody who's there, please know that we're still here and we still try to balance up on all of that. But thank you very much, Steve, for sharing that personal experience, right? Because I know it's one thing to to be a free man and just move and make your own decisions, right? And it's another thing to still be that free man, or probably with your family, and still put priorities to all what you're doing in your life, and say, okay, those times where you need to be very proactive, like you mentioned, right? And there are times where that you have to just do your thing and then keep going and try to balance up family, friends, trying
Mm,
to balance up work and don't have to cut off anybody. And
mm,
I know it's something that most professionals are really battling with. That is why at every of our discussions, at least I try to bring in those questions to each of our guests to also share, and let our listeners also learn from that and see how to navigate from that, because work-life balance is a never-ending process. Personally, just like storytelling, when you're carrying on the whole process, it's a never-ending process, because why? In as much as you're growing in your career, you're moving on, you will always have to share things about yourself, talk to people about you, sell yourself, share the insights, get buy-ins and all of that. So yesterday, it looks like this. Yesterday I had a conversation with a friend, and I I I made a point to him. I shared with him that every time you discuss it, every time you tell someone about what you're doing, either your brand or your personal, maybe your professional skill, that is your way of refining what you're doing and really knowing who you are, until you get to a point whereby you will always be telling one stories every time, like the same thing every time, because you've gotten used to really understand who you are. I don't know if that is something you also do, or maybe have other ideas on that.
Let me say, Matthew, once you have identified your ikigai in life, when introducing yourself, it's a moment of joy because you now
Yeah.
have ways to share the story. You will always be looking at how I'll impact your life. It is so transformative that when you are happy about what you think you might term as work, that comes part of life, and you share it in a form of a story that somebody says, wow, you are painting a picture of a life that you have lived well. And that's why, even as we come almost to the end of the session, I wanted to share this. Sometimes people believe they cannot be good storytellers because their life in itself is not a good enough story, or they don't have material that they feel that is worthy to be shared. To you, I'll tell you that your life so far is amazing. It has the content that is required, and you can craft any story related to what you want to achieve from it. Don't get flustered that you can't create a story. No, you have enough information based on your experience, even no matter how young or old you are. It will work for the purpose that you have.
Wow. Thank you very much. And we'll always try our best to share our stories, tell our journey, because I know personally I've also had to, battle with myself. Hey,
Yeah.
you have to do more. When you're doing the whole social media thing, and if you're leveraging the social media to build a brand, you have to bring yourself out there. You have to learn the best way to, share. Let people get to understand and see really what you're doing. Not really that this most times you get to find the things that are not really impactful fly more because of how they package that information. You wonder, why is this person selling? Why is this person moving? Why is this person getting the big jobs? Why is he getting the big gigs? And you
Yeah.
forget that how the person gets to package himself and talk about themselves is what got these customers or
Yeah.
clients attracted to them to do business with them. Have you ever had any moments where clients go back to you to share some such review to you?
No, personally, I've had instances where people say, and this is people coming back to me and sharing, it's very easy for people to see the end outcome, but not the journey that was taken to get to that end. What you, as Madhu, have been doing in 10 years' time to come, somebody will think you just woke up one day and you were able to get all the number of followers and the business or the number of portfolios that
Yeah.
you. up, but they don't realize the effort that you took behind it, the training that you also did personally, the change that you needed to do to transform. Because at that point, they will see that instance of Madi and not the old instance that you started with. And that's why every time you always have a story to share because you're always on a journey.
Every time we always have a story to share because we're always on a journey. Thank you very much, Steve, for sharing all the impactful information with us. Thank you very much for also sharing your experience. And like Caroline would say, an award-winning storyteller, and yes, you've also been able to prove that to our thousands and soon to come millions of guests who will be listening to, or audience who will be listening to these over time on our YouTube and across social media platforms. And thank you for also sparing out your time. I know it's a bit late for you, but they also spare that time and tell the kids, hey, go get some rest. Daddy wants to share some stories and
Yes.
get on live session. So really
Yeah.
appreciate that, and we're looking forward to doing more together. And to our audience, I hope that while you're here today, like I always say, this is beyond just Ubong Matthew, and I'm always very confident to say this because when it started, it was just for me. But I got to realize that there's more than just more persons, and every day we keep doing it. We realize that there's more than just me who are also having these problems, who also want to communicate with other professionals, other managers, mentors, leaders, coaches who can also help them navigate their career path. So whenever you find yourself in any of this space, please don't forget to knock on the doors of an hour with a manager. We are always available. We have professionals, difference of experience, always there available to share valuable information with you. That is why we are here. That's why we're doing this, to also help you in your career path, to also help you see that yes, it is possible to do it because Mr. Steve did it, you too can do it. Because Elon Musk did it, you too can do it. And that is why we are here. From one little step, one at a time, you will always continue to get there. But before we close up on this, Mr. Steve, do you have any last word for our listeners pertaining to what we discussed today?
Yes, we have been graced with this gift, which we call life. And as we walk on this journey, get these amazing experiences. These are meant to be translated to stories that will enrich your journey further, enrich the people around you, and enrich the generations to come behind you. Share with them or train others to share theirs also so that we can continue to become masters in storytelling.
Thank you very much. And we will continue to share our quota as much as we can. And to everybody, please don't forget to also click the link in the comments box to join our magazine wait list. Continue to follow our Now with Manager across all platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're always at. Just follow us, share, spread the word, talk about an hour with the manager, shout my name, mention my name. If you need to use the Nigerian gong, like we'll call it, hit on it, call an hour with the manager. We will always be available to help you navigate your career journey. Thank you very much for tuning into our live today, and thank you to our guests too. We will see you guys next week, next week Thursday, where we're going to share more valuable information. And don't forget, always share the link. Thank you very much, guys. Good night, good morning, good evening from wherever you're joining us from, and bye.